Hackers of Reddit, what is the most disturbing thing you have ever found while hacking? College ran a sniffer on my dorm network to figure out why it was going so slow. I found out literally half of all the computers in the dorm were infected with the SQL slammer worm. I don't want to Google this. It sounds like a computer STD. And someone in the comments says it basically is. I managed to break my ex's father's password. While snooping through files to see what I could find, I stumbled upon folders and folders of himself, his wife, and various friends of theirs wearing nothing but a literal crap and pissing on each other. They were in their 70s and it scarred me for life. My friend's homework folder contained nothing but actual homework. It was a disappointing day indeed. I work on IT for a large medical group. I found animal corn on the owner's laptop, home computer, office desktop as well. The owner was 72. Back when Kazaa was big, I downloaded a bunch of corn. 13-year-old me figured since I built my own computer and bought all the parts myself, that I'd be safe from my mom and her newly married husband. Wrong. He didn't hack it exactly because I had no safeguards and had nothing to hide. But when I got home, he asked me why I was watching Animal Corn. I was so confused and said I hadn't been because that stuff's gross. I come to find out one of the videos I downloaded was labeled as regular old corn, but it was actually a girl getting screwed by a horse. So that's pretty much when I stopped trusting peer-to-peer corn downloads. Holy shit. I'm not a hacker by any means, but I did figure out how to make my MySpace pages that were set to private viewable. I had to mess with the URL a bit, and you could see any private page you wanted. It made me feel like a 1337 hacker like in 2005. Not a hacker, but I once pickpocketed my dad's smokes for a laugh, and that's how I found out he'd gone back to smoking crack. In high school, I found the root admin password buried in a script file that would run. I leveraged that to get Root and Integrate Pro, the school's attendance and grading software, explored some more and found a dial-in for modem for emergency access to the network if main fiber network failed. I was trying to pitch to my principal on how better security was needed. He challenged me on why it was important. This was around 2000. Security was not a big deal yet. I replied that I could change my grades from home or do it for others. As a result, I got into a seniors-only class where you'd basically function as a school employee and fix the network as a sophomore. Honestly, this could have gotten a lot worse for you. I'm glad your principal was logical and reasonable, as some students have been slapped with suspensions for hacking when pointing out a security flaw in their school's network. My school's ID system was alphabetical and passwords followed numerical, so Adam Ames was Adam.Ames 0001 password. We had access to everyone, and everyone had all their stuff on cloud servers, so we could edit anyone at any time. While I didn't do anything, I had friends delete everyone they hated homeworks folder and stuff. Eventually, 30 kids were passed because the school didn't want to admit its security system was that easy to beat, but another 20 kids were due to fail. The school changed grades themselves, so the grades were higher, and were able to see it happen live, so we had two major issues. Someone in the comments says, my wife got reprimanded repeatedly at one district for giving students zeros on assignments if they refused to even turn in a sheet of paper with their name on it for an assignment. By school policy, technically refusal or failure to turn anything in was a zero, but if you turn literally anything in with your name on it, it couldn't be less than 50%. But she got reprimanded anyways for following school policy because it would hurt their numbers. Then again, she also got reprimanded at another school 2 weeks after she started there for not knowing two kids that were in a different grade that she taught were in rival gangs, and she apparently should have known they weren't allowed to pass each other in the hallway. The school also didn't have a picture directory of students and never told her which students or gangs needed to be kept apart. She had to get a crash course on the gangs in the school of a son of a member of the Latin Kings. This was one of her students because the admin there was useless. Oh, the admins aren't useless. They're useful to the wrong people and to policies. My ex-wife's phone. I found out she was sleeping with her ex-husband behind my back, so that's why she is now my ex-wife. Apparently everyone on Call of Duty banged my mom! Back when DSL was king and you could snoop your internal ISP network for file shares, I did just that. This was back in the IRC days, so I always went looking down the same folder path to find whatever was open. This isn't technically hacking in the sense of figuring out how something works and then working around it, or defeating a security flaw. You could literally just input an IP range and it would just go to every IP asking, "Hey, are you sharing?" I'd found some good, naughty content, some really weird music, and rarely would find like a TV show or a movie. Fast DSL was still maybe 10 at a time, so compared to now, really slow. After finding one of those accounts, I started opening the JPEGs inside. Things were looking good until I came across obvious CP. I was sick. I went and vomited. I thought about what can I do about this. I could report it to my ISP abuse department, but then I'd be narking on myself. So that's obviously out. I could just delete it, but then they could just download it again. So I took one of the images, renamed it to logo.sys, and placed it in the main root of the offender's computer. To explain further for those who don't know, Windows 95 has all the way up to Windows XP, kept the loading window splash screen in a file called logo.sys. This made it easy for partners like HP, Dell, Compaq, etc. to make custom loading screens like Powered by HP, along with the Windows logo. So that meant that now, next time the computer rebooted, instead of a Windows loading screen, it would display the offending material that I renamed. That person probably had the most amazing heart attack when that rebooted. If you're enjoying the stories I'm telling you so far, remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment down below for the algorithm's sake. Thank you, and if you do all that, I'll return your kidney. Bunch of boring answers here. Let me just give you an actual answer, actual things I found disturbing. Professionally, I'm not much of a hacker, just an IT monkey. I am honestly surprised our banking system works, period. I worked in multiple banks and frankly I'm surprised their systems work at all. Some servers are 20 years old, some do not have working DR solution. Some are using software that is no longer on the market, so if those servers break, and they're 20 years old, there is no working alternative in place. I've seen such servers breaking twice. Once we had to buy an identical server from eBay and ship it to London overnight to repair the broken machine. Other times it just happened to be at the end of a long line of failures, and I'm pretty sure I was responsible for at least 10 million in trading losses. To this day, I don't know how I wasn't sacked for that one. It was an old Solaris 8 server, and frankly, probably half of the components weren't working properly. I still was responsible for the screw-up. Fun fact, we had found some servers everyone forgot about. We found an old one, OpenBSD3 server, that's OS from the frickin' 90s, after selling a business unit. The new owners just asked, "What the frick is that thing?" We had an old Red Hat 2 server still running around when I left that bank a few years ago. We had IBM Power 4 servers around, so on. Needless to say, no one released any security updates on those servers for almost a decade. Security? What's that? This is a mobile bank! thinking we need no security. I've seen engineers commit confidential code for mobile banking apps with secret keys to public Git repos. At one point, I was aware of a critical security vulnerability in two mobile banking apps. This was about 2 years ago. The type of vulnerabilities that potentially would allow hackers to get all this info, including card data, which brings me to the third point. Pervasive culture of hiding everything. We had a security breach? Well, do the regulators know about this? No? Well, then let's keep it that way. No one needs to know we've been hacked, and millions of people are about to see their money stolen. They hunt down the whistleblowers. One bank I work at was getting fined for money laundering. An established office in some Eastern European country hired a bunch of young, fresh, recent graduates desperate for jobs and gave them documents to analyze in language none of them spoke. They literally went out of their way to find students who could not understand documents they were analyzing. And this was my first job. You know what happened when I actually found money laundering? The company would be gone from the system. Private companies, especially small ones, are worse, probably because they can't afford armies of engineers to try and fix their problems. It's remarkably easy to hack some web store, get credit card data, and start selling it on the dark web. You can literally buy someone else's credit card for a few dollars. Banks at least have some security in place. I hacked into my own phone and went to Google symptoms of short-term memory loss, and all the links were already purple. That is a certain database used by the universities across Canada containing a bunch of personal information, stores passwords in plain text. I haven't tested it further. If such a detail was overlooked, there's bound to be other vulnerabilities. I contacted the person at my university who was responsible for it, outlining the details and demonstrating exactly what is wrong. This was 6 months ago, and last I checked, this issue hasn't been fixed yet. I went into my stepbrother's Xbox account. Fun fact, Xbox a great place to have detailed sexting with 3 different people, but whatever. My dad wasn't pleased when I told him what was going on. I worked as IT for a public school in my area. To be honest, I'm not a proper hacker. I am sure, though, if I put my mind to it, I can learn it. But grabbing personal info there was just a question of wanting to. It is appalling how frequent the teachers left personal email accounts and other stuff just logged in on the public machines. People still think hacking is like in the movies? Hilarious! Not hacking, just doing regular maintenance. Backup, format, and reinstall for regular people. Every 1 out of 3 has something you wouldn't expect. Just checking that the backups were complete and in good order was enough to find some weird stuff. A doctor had pictures of woman heels, a lot of them. The lady in accounting had pictures of cats mating. No videos, nothing else. Pics were from her own camera. The only time I actually hacked someone by patiently getting personal info until I cracked his email password and found out he was hitting on my girlfriend by telling her cruddy lies about me. And she actually went out with him a couple of times. He was a quote-unquote friend during college, but I knew something was off. I cut contact with both of them at once. About 20 years ago, when chat rooms were still a thing, I would sometimes do tech support for people in chat. A couple of the kids in chat were underage and had their PC usage monitored by a parent. Since we shared music, I knew some of what they had and was located on their PC. So while helping them with something unrelated, I got them to install a script that let me remote play music on their PC. And I would wait for them to say their parent was in the room and make the most embarrassing song they had play. No one wanted to go to jail, so we never did anything actually illegal. I mean, a lot of it was illegal in a sense, but when I dared someone to break into my PC, I wasn't going to report him when he did. Lol. I was pretty good at hacking early on, too good. I didn't want to say too much, but I got into some stuff with the stock exchange when I was younger, and caused a big drop in the market which led to me being banned from computers and telephones until I was 18. Once I was released back into the mainframe, I got back to some of my old tricks and met a community of other like-minded hackers. Me and my buddies would share tips and tricks after school at the local underground skate park, DJ Set Piece. Well, anyways, a long story short, I found a plot to sink a US oil tanker fleet and kind of saved the day in the end. It was a pretty wild time. I was working IT at this company 30 years ago, and there was this girl I liked. She was cold to me. I found out that she was meeting the CFO of the company after hours, so I wanted to see what was going on. I set up their computers to capture everything they were doing, and I found out they were having an affair. The CFO was married, by the way. She was really big on X and cocaine, and she was using him to pay for her drug habit. She had already milked him for $20,000 and appeared they were going to make a big score on cocaine in the near future. He was getting a lot of sex from her, and to be honest, she was not the only one, but freaky, so I get why he was being stupid. In the end, though, he lost his job, got divorced, and she framed him, and he served jail time for the drugs. There was no trace to her because she had covered her tracks. That is, until I took the messages I had copied, and I sent them to the detectives. I remember the day they came and got her at the office. It was a huge thrill to see her get arrested. No one ever knew who sent the evidence. I was questioned by my boss, but since I was at such a low-level entry job, they didn't realize the abilities I possessed. I had already removed the spyware off the computer and cleaned up before they ever knew what happened. Thank you for watching today's video. If you enjoyed, remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, and potentially check out my Entitled People playlist. I hope you enjoyed. Now I will see you all next time.